please. Oh, there we go. All right. I think I got it, Mitch. Thanks. All right. Welcome, everybody. Whew, that took a little while. Oh, man. Spinning wheel. Sorry about that. Not sure what's up with YouTube, but it's what we're doing here. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Dave Celentano with Guitar Tricks. Guitar Tricks is our sponsor for this Wednesday night class. Tonight, we're wrapping up our series on string bending and vibrato with some more cool ideas, and I'm going to put together a little solo. And I already see some folks here, some familiar faces. Roland, hey, JV, Peter, Kenneth, Richard, Steve, hello, hello. Hey, Benny, what's up, man? Good to see you here for a minute or two. Cool, all right. So last week, I'll do a brief review of what we did last week. We went over example 5 in the packet. And then example 5 is the unison string bends. And then let me know if you have a hard time printing out the curriculum that's underneath the YouTube video. If you expand the text there, you'll see an area that'll open up the link. If you're not able to get that, let me know, and I will see if I can post a separate link for that in the comment for everybody. But we're doing example 5. It was unison bends, which are kind of cool ways of fattening up a simple melody. Instead of playing single notes like this, which is kind of a neat melody, all right? But if we add the unison bends, which is a way that you can get a fatter sound out of that melody note. You got the melody note held with your first finger on the 5th fret. And what we're going to do is match that with the unison bend is bending that 3rd string 7th fret up while you're holding the 2nd string. So you start with both notes sounding a little bit out of tune. That's actually a major 2nd interval. And as you push it up, you can hear that the notes go in tune. That's what you want. Cool. All right. Hey, so let me just address some of the comments here. Hello, Tom from Cincinnati, and Rui from, hello there. Cool, cool. Steve in New Hampshire saying he's not able to open up the file. So, and I suspected that because we were having a little YouTube issues last week too. And JV says the link doesn't work. So let me fish that out for everyone real quick before we get too deep into this. Hey, Laura, how you doing there? Good to see you here. And you can listen while you're driving, but don't be watching. Keep your eyes on your road ahead of you, okay? And then Terry. So give me 2 secs, everybody, and I'll fish out the string bending curriculum. Let me see if I can copy a link of that. See how I can do this. That won't work. Let me try one more thing here. Sorry about that, folks. Just technical difficulties with the curriculum. For the folks that aren't going to be looking at the curriculum, it's no big deal, but we want to get it there for everybody that's interested with that. So, okay, I got that copied. Let me see if this will work, folks. That's not working. Shoot. Let me try one more thing, people. Just bear with me, please, for a minute. Okay, back to this. Yeah, phooey, folks. Yeah, you know what? Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to share the curriculum because I don't have the link. Sorry. Maybe what you can do is try copying the link. Don't, obviously if you click it and it doesn't work, just copy it and then see if you can bring that into a different web browser and then open it up there. See if that works for you. And I'll just go over this stuff, folks. And I promise you next week, we'll have the links working for you. So let me clear my screen here of a few things. Okay, sorry about all that. Jim saying, your George Lynch lessons on guitar tricks are great. Appreciate it, Jim. Thanks. Yeah, George Lynch, fabulous guitar, great guitar player. I think I did a few songs, Breaking the Chain, and another one from Dokken. I forgot which one it was. Burning Like a Flame, I think. Yeah. George, speaking of vibrato and string bending, George Lynch has excellent vibrato and superb string bending too. And he does a lot of these same ideas I'm talking about tonight, like unison bends. Okay, so just for today, folks, because the curriculum link's not working, if you can't copy it and paste it into a different browser and see it, I'm sorry. I'll just go over everything in a little more detail and call out the tabs. And there you go, Rui. Like old school VHS lessons, right? Yeah, a lot of times they didn't have tabs in them, but the instructor would literally show you every single aspect of where to put your finger, what string and what fret. So back to the unison bends, folks. It's a great way of fattening up a melody. It's not easy to do, but what you want to do is hold the second string, in this case at the 5th fret, and then finger the 3rd string, 7th fret with your 3rd finger. Whenever you do a bend, though, we always bend with at least 2 fingers. Rarely will you see a guitarist bend with 1 finger, unless, of course, it's with the 1st finger. Okay, if you're doing some cool blues licks or whatnot, you might do the 1st finger on that. But most of the time when we bend, we're going to bend with the 2nd finger, in which case you use the 1st finger to help it. Or you bend with the 3rd finger and use the 2nd finger and maybe even the 1st to help it. And rarely we bend with the pinky, but if you were to, you can really feel right there that it would be very hard, nearly impossible, to bend the string with just the pinky. Okay, so you really got to get a good grip with whatever finger you're going to bend with. Use the fingers behind it to help the bend. Okay, there you go there. Let me shut this off. Got some multiple screens.
I don't know how to respond to that.
There you go. All right, we won't have to get that. So what we're going to do is take that bend on the 3rd string and push it up and try to make it match your 2nd string note. And then we go up to the 8th fret, and we're just going to keep the same shape, move it up 3 frets. So now you're at the 8th fret, 2nd string, 10th fret on the 3rd. And then quickly back to the 7th fret with the index and the 9th fret, 3rd string with your 3rd finger. And then up to the 10th fret. So the lick went. And if you can add a little vibrato on top of that, it makes it sound kind of cool. And actually, I'll talk a little bit about tones as well. If you go and add a little more overdrive, like this, I just stepped on a tube screamer. Okay, sounds kind of neat. Gives you a little more sustain on it too. Then the final part goes up to the 8th fret on the 1st string. And when you're doing unison bends on the 1st string and 2nd string, the distance is 3 frets apart with the finger spread. So we're holding 8 on the 1st string, bending 11 on the 2nd, and pushing that 2nd string all the way up. A full step. Make sure you go to when it's in tune, folks, and add a little vibrato. The vibrato's a couple things about it. It's not easy to do, especially when you're holding another note. But it certainly sounds cool, and it masks if we're a little bit sharp or flat on the bend. Listen to some old Ozzy with Randy Rhoads, Ace Frehley and Kiss, the old Kiss stuff. He does that a lot. And Zakk Wylde with Ozzy as well does a lot of unison bends. They're really a great way of getting a nice fat sound. And it helps the note scream too. Okay, and then we go from the 7th fret and bending the 11 on the 2nd. Then move back to the 7 on the 1st string. then 10 on the second, and then finally we come back to the 5th fret first string, bending 8 on the second. So that last part of example 5 goes 8, 7, 5. And anytime I hold a note, and this works with anything you're playing in rock or blues or country, typically if you sustain a note, don't just let it sit there like a bump in a log. Give it a little vibrato. See, it makes the notes sound a little more musical and more like a voice. With the vibrato, we're trying to emulate the human voice. So that whole lick all together sounds like this, and then we'll move on. Okay, make sure you don't overbend or underbend, because if you do overbend or underbend with unison bends, they call it unison because when you bend the note up, you're bending up to the same pitch as the note you're holding with the first finger. Hence unison. When you got two notes that are the same, like when you're tuning on the open first string along with the second string 5th fret, okay, those notes are unison. They're the same. Okay, and they should be the same. If they're not, it means you're out of tune. You got to fix that. But when you're doing the bends with unison, same thing. You don't want to over or under bend because then it's out of tune. Good thing to listen for, folks. If it sounds like an elephant screeching, blowing its nose, that's the overbend. Okay, it also sounds like an elephant if you underbend. But also, if you got a good ear, and most of us do, it sounds pretty terrible. Okay, definitely use your ear. This is good ear training too, folks, to pay attention to the notes. All right, now we're going to move on to the example 6 we did last week. These are called oblique bends. This is sort of like a little more of a country type of bend, but also a lot of rock and roll players use this too. I know Randy Rhoads did, and I'll give you an illustration in a minute, but a lot of country and classic rock songs too. Hotel California does a lot of oblique bends. Oblique bend is this. We're going to bend the 10th fret second string, for instance. Hold it. Then we're going to add the first string 10th fret with the pinky. Okay, it's not a unison bend where you're going to play both notes at the same time and then bend the lower string up to it. Here, we're not going to play both at the same time, and the two notes aren't going to be the same note, so it's not unison. So we bend the second string 10th fret a whole step, hold it with your third finger and your second and maybe your first helping it, and then add your pinky to the first string 10th fret. Then we pick the note that's bent, let it down, come back to the 8th fret second string. That sounds really good over a G chord. Although I have the key, for example, 6 is A minor, it also works in A minor. Okay, and then the second part of it, we're going to do oblique bends on the 3rd and 2nd string. In the key of A minor, just kind of using the A pentatonic, A minor pentatonic, as the framework. We're going to bend the 3rd string 7th fret a whole step. Hold that while you bend or grab the 8th fret 2nd string, and then pick the note that's bent, let it down. Then back to the 5th fret 3rd string, and the vibrato. Okay. And then the last 3 notes. Go 7, 5, and then back to 7. So all together, that lick goes. Hotel California solo, a lot of oblique bends in that. Actually, that's an overbend. Half step bend there. Here's an oblique bend. Oops. Another oblique bend. There's another oblique bend. Okay, that solo's got a lot. Crazy Train from Ozzy Osbourne, you know, familiar with that? Okay, the solo, what's that one part Randy does? All right, so what do we got? The first part of the solo? That last bit right there is an oblique bend. And what I do, I think he uses his whammy bar on that one lick after this. Little tapping arpeggio lick. Then I just go up to 9 and 12 on the second, do the trill. Reach behind it with my index finger and grab the same string with the side of my index and yank it while I'm trilling. Sounds like a whammy bar when you're pulling it up while you're trilling. Okay, that's actually like example 8 that we did last week at the end of the lesson. We're going to touch on that in a few minutes there. So after that part there, see, there's an oblique bend. There's another oblique bend. And trills. Another oblique bend. And then legato at the end. Something like that. So in that solo, Crazy Train, there's 3, I think I counted 3 oblique bends in that, okay? A lot of neat little bendy stuff you can do. Moving quickly here, folks, because I'm going to finish our covering all the examples today. Example 7 is kind of a Marty Friedman style inspired lick. When I was younger in high school, he was going to my high school as well. And this is obviously way before he was with Megadeth and Cacophony and all that. But he was just a young teenager, and he was really good. And my friends in my circle mentioned that I should reach out to him because they heard he was giving lessons. So I took some from him. And one of the things I picked up is that he's got this really neat way of doing his bends. Instead of any of the styles that I've gone over in the last 2 weeks and tonight, he would bend a note, kind of he'd bend it really up a whole step, let it down really quick, and then up slow. Kind of like that. So that's example 7 was like a fast, slow bend. Almost sounds like a motorcycle shifting gears as it's upshifting, or even a race car. Yep. John, cool. Yep. Sounds very Joe Walsh, the oblique bends. Another good example, you reminded me, John, is that Funk 49. That's an oblique bend. That thing. Okay, that also does a little chicken picking, which we covered a few weeks back on some picking technique styles. Okay, I won't get over that. I won't go too deep into that, though. Let's get back to the Marty Friedman type of bend when you're doing this. And you notice, too, when I do my bends, I also try to mute all the other strings with the heel of my hand, my right hand, my pick hand, or that muscle in our thumb. Because if you don't mute your strings, folks, it's going to be really noisy as heck, especially if you play with some gain. See, it's kind of noisy. I like a real clean sound where I just mute those thicker strings. Okay, so what you do is you bend it real quick, let it down, up, down, real fast, and then slow up. Once you get up to a full step, hold it, and then I'm going to add the pinky to that same string, 11th fret. So after I bend it up, hold it, add the pinky to the second string while it's bent, take it off, pick it without the pinky, back to the pinky, then back to the third finger, pinky off, and let that note down to the A note, okay? Very cool little technique. And you don't hear many guitars do that, but they do occasionally. Well, they'll bend a string, and then it's kind of like finger tapping, right? You know, Edward Van Halen does. It's that same idea, but with the finger tapping, you can put the note anywhere you want on that same string. But when we're just playing it with regular conventional playing, no fancy stuff, no finger tapping, your fingers can't stretch too far, so you can only go about 1 or 2 frets higher, maybe 3 if you got a long pinky. But it's a nice way of getting some other flavors, squeezing some other flavors and ideas out of your notes of the scale in your guitar. Okay, and then the second part of that phrase, we're going to go to the 14 on the first string. We're going to do the same thing, but only a half step bend. So I want my 14 to go up to the sound of the 15, real quick, quick up, quick down, slow up. And then once I go back up a half step, and you got to use your ear for this, folks, keep it up a half step, add your pinky to the 16 on the same string, the first string, then take it off, then put it back down, then take it off, let it down, and then wrap it up with a little A minor arpeggio at the end. So that second lick. Okay. Now, I made a little, typically playing the backing tracks with the over YouTube Live, it doesn't necessarily sound that good to my ear. So, and I've had students say they can't hear the guitar, or they can't hear the backing track. But just for kicks, I've made a little recording of myself playing this rhythm, A minor to D or D7, just back and forth. It's kind of like, reminds me of like a Pink Floyd type of rhythm. And if everybody's into playing some lead guitar, I'm sure you're very familiar with David Gilmour and Pink Floyd. A lot of guitar players love his style. He plays with a lot of heart and soul. He plays great melodic solos, follows the chords. He can also shred a little bit. And he's got a great tone, and he plays with little delay and reverb like I've got. You can kind of hear the echo back. All right. Let me know if I'm going to just try this, and if you folks can hear my guitar and the backing track, great. If not, go ahead, feel free to comment and let me know. And I won't torture anyone anymore today by doing more backing tracks type of stuff. But I just wanted to present this over this chord change because it works over an A minor. Okay, so that's the chords we're going to do. Yes, Rui, yes. Yeah, Gilmour makes us enter the dream world with his solos. Yeah, very hypnotic. Yeah.
1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4.
And then again. Again. And the second part. Okay, so when you hear the ideas over a chord change, the idea is try to make it fit, try to make it sound musical over the chord change. We don't want to, just because we got a really cool lick that we like, we don't necessarily want to force it over a backing track or a rhythm if it's not if it doesn't sound right. So just because you got a good lick doesn't mean it's going to fit over every chord progression. So just use your musical ear and try to work with that. So Roland's saying louder backing track. So you need the backing track louder, Roland, I think is what you're saying. So I'll just crank it up a little more, and then I'll put it closer to the microphone a little bit. It's not the best fidelity, Roland, but you get the idea. I'm going to do something else with that backing track in a few minutes. Let me move forward, though, so we can finish our project here today. Okay, example 8 is getting into kind of a more like a cheap trick lick, not the band Cheap Trick, but just like a little flashy lick you can do. It's trilling on the 10th and 13th fret on the 2nd string. And the trill is when you pick a note and then you're going to hammer onto a higher note on the same string and then pull off back to the original note over and over again. You want to try to be able to go quickly with it, okay? And you could use any frets you want. You could do fingers 1 and 2 on 10 and 11. But what really sounds neat is when you get them a little further apart, in this case 10 and 13. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is reach behind with my side of my index finger, this upper edge here. As I'm trilling, I'm going to rest it on the same string, the 2nd string. So I got that. And I'm going to yank it upwards as I'm trilling. So you're going to get this sound. So the string's being bent, but I'm not physically pushing it up with my left hand. I'm yanking it up with my right. So the left hand just keeps trilling as it goes up and down. We talked last week about some songs that do that. I know Train Kept a Rollin' from Aerosmith. Part of the solo in that, you'll hear it sounds like the guitarist does something along that line. Another great example I forgot to mention last week is Heartbreaker, Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, the solo in it, right? You know that there's part of it. It says something kind of like this, but he'll be doing a lick. So he's doing a pull-off lick. And what he's doing is yanking the same string. I'm on the G string for that, and I'm yanking it with my side of my first finger and just pulling it up behind the nut on the Les Paul. And you can do this on any guitar, provided it doesn't have like a Floyd Rose lock nut or a Kaler locking system. You know, if you got just a regular Fender Strat or the Les Pauls work real good because there's no string trees. The Fenders, though, got those little trees, those little gizmos that hold the strings tighter. And I know they're on the top 2 strings. I think there might even be a couple on the G and the D string too. I can't recall off the top of my head, but that would kind of hinder your ability to do that behind the neck thing. So the Jimmy Page lick. That thing. All right, it starts out the solo after then he goes into that. Okay, then it gets off the rails. We won't get too deep into that, but that's the idea, folks. Okay, now we're going to wrap up with the brand new stuff. And this is example 9. This is a bend, release, and pull off. This is another super common idea to do with string bending. Remember, our focus is string bending and vibrato. So all kinds of ways to bend the strings. It's nice to study them all. We talked about whole step bends, half step bends, over bending, which is you go like 1.5 steps or 2 whole steps. We talked about the reverse bending, when you bend a note first, pick it, let it down. We talked about the oblique bends. Okay, we talked about the Marty Friedman little trick where you bend real quick, release quick, and then slow bend. Okay. Now this one is we're going to bend the 3rd string, 7th fret with the 3rd finger. Let it back down without picking it, and then pull off to the 5th fret. Okay. That's a very common move that every guitar player that solos has done somewhere in there's one of their solos somewhere. I can, if we were to dig out any Zeppelin album or Buddy Guy album or Van Halen, anybody, even the country players, that's a super common lick. Okay, for rock, blues, metal, country, absolutely. And all you do is pick the first note, bend it up, let it down, pull off, and then what I'm going to do for you is end it on 7th fret string 4. So our lick goes. In fact, it's very similar to the lick Jimmy Page does in the Heartbreaker after he does the crazy string bend behind the nut thing. Then when he goes, there it is. That's the lick right there. But you could hear it in other combinations, you know. See, I just kind of played one on the 2nd string. Then the 3rd string. You could even walk down your pentatonic scale. Just do the bend, release, pull off. 2nd string, same thing. 3rd string, same thing. And then end it on the root. Okay. So the first part of that example 9 goes like this. Remember when we hang on a note, vibrato it. We talked about that. Spent a lot of time on the first week of that one. So if you missed the vibrato stuff, folks, look back in Guitar Tricks YouTube channel to week 1 of 3 for string bending and vibrato, and you'll get a whole bunch of info on that. Okay. Going to do that twice, and then the next part we're going to do is just the bend, release, pull off 4 times real quick, and then end it. Okay, so kind of repetitive. It goes like this. Okay, kind of simple. That's the key of A right there. Okay, now let's talk about putting this all together. So the final solo I've got is example 10 in the curriculum, folks. It fits over those chords, A minor and D, and then I'll turn it up a little bit louder and move it closer to the mic so hopefully you can hear the chords. But the important thing, folks, is that you can hear my guitar and hear what the licks sound like. If the backing track's a little soft, it's all right. It's nice if you can hear it, but we'll just do the best we can. So when we're coming up with a solo, we want to think, kind of keep it within a framework of the scale, and then add in some of the elements we've learned. Maybe you already know about pull-offs and hammer-ons, okay? Sliding into notes, out of notes, that's all good. Let's try to incorporate some of these new ideas, though, the string bends and all the different ways we can bend the string. Okay, that's kind of what I'm going to do in this solo. So it sounds like this. I'll go ahead and play it for you, and then we'll break it down, and I'll play it for you again at the end here. Okay, so here's the track.
1, 2, 3,
4. Okay, cool. All right, Roland, appreciate it. Cool. It just took a little bit. All I did, folks, is I recorded on my phone. I just recorded on the Voice Memos app, that rhythm right before our lesson tonight. I thought I'd try that instead of trying to, usually what I'll do is I pull a backing track off of the internet or my files or Guitar Tricks, and I just play it over the computer. For some reason, that doesn't sound too good when you viewers hear it back. So what I'm trying right now is just a lesser quality recording, but it doesn't have to be great. I just want to hear the chords, the harmony in background, make sure I know what I'm playing over, make sure it fits. Okay, so the first chord is A minor. And then again, we talked about making up solos that follow the chords. All right. So what I'm going to do is try to make all these licks kind of float around the notes, not just the key of A minor pentatonic, but more specifically the notes of the chords. The three notes in an A minor chord are A, C, and E. And then the three notes of a D major chord are D, F sharp, A. Okay, you don't need to know all that stuff. And then the scale I'm going to play out of that has those notes is the A Dorian mode, or the A Dorian scale, which looks like this. It's kind of your pentatonic scale. And if everyone's familiar with this, your pentatonic pattern 1, right? Okay, what we're going to do is use that as the framework, and I'm going to add a few extra notes. So this is kind of good, folks. We're going to go frets 5, 7, 8, then 5, 7 on string 5, frets 5 and 7 on the A string. Then on string 4 and 3, the D and G strings, we're going to play frets 4, 5, 7. And then jump up on the second and first string, the B and the high E, we're going to play frets 5, 7, 8. So that's actually kind of a neat little, almost symmetrical pattern, because the top two strings are 5, 7, 8, or 8, 7, 5 descending. And then the third and fourth strings are the same 7, 5, 4. Okay, they're different from the second and first string, but this third and the fourth strings are identical fret-wise. Okay, and then on the fifth string, we just have the lonesome two notes, 7 and 5, and in the sixth string, 8, 7, 5, always is the same frets as the high E string. When you're playing if you know about your 5 cage patterns for the pentatonic scale, or the cage patterns for the major and minor scales, the notes on the first string are always the same as the sixth string, and vice versa. Okay, I'm not talking 3 notes per string scales where every string has 3 notes, because the cage patterns, if anyone's been working on those, the cage patterns don't use 3 notes on every string. They use 3 notes on a lot of the strings in each pattern, but there's always going to be at least 1 string, and sometimes 2 strings, that just have 2 notes. All right. What that does is it makes it more compact, a little bit easier and finger friendly for folks that don't quite have the finger stretch to stretch real far. On some of the 3 note per string patterns, the big stretch is required. All right. So just think about this for your A Dorian pattern. Is one more time, it's frets 5, 7, 8 on the 6th string, 5, 7 on the 5th, 4, 5, 7 on strings 4 and 3, and then 5, 7, 8 on strings 2 and 1. Okay, that's what I'm going to use for this solo here. Let me just take a detour for a second, read the comments coming in. Oh, Mano. I think that's how I say your name, Mano. Yeah, appreciate it, man. Great teacher. You helped me to rock my country. Right on. Good to hear. I'm here to help everybody. Anybody that wants that help of guitar stuff, I can definitely help you out. And if you're interested, Manho, I do offer one-on-one live lessons over the internet. You can check me out on my website, davecelentano.com. And if you're a Guitar Tricks member, you can also reach me there on the forum, or if you look for a lesson on the left side of the Guitar Tricks homepage, they've got an area to schedule a one-on-one lesson, private lesson, and I'm one of the instructors There you go. And Simon, let's see what you got commenting here. I recently bought a hardtail and I didn't know the technique of bending the string behind the note I'm fretting. Thank you very much. Cool. Yeah, it's a little neat little trick. You probably don't want to do it all the time, Simon, but it's nice to throw out one time. Plus, the audience loves seeing players when they do something different than the normal. Like when you see someone reach behind the neck, it's like you never see that when you watch guitar players, or very, very rarely. So it looks different. It's kind of, you wonder what the heck they're doing. And it sounds different too, because you get that whammy bar. It almost sounds like a whammy bar being pulled up. Like if you have an Ibanez guitar with that has the cavity cut out under the Floyd Rose, you can pull up on the bar like Steve Vai's guitar. Okay, so you get the same effect that way. All right, so what we're going to do is follow those chords with the first lick I got goes like this. Okay, simple. So it's 7 on string 4 with a hefty amount of vibrato. And then we're going to bend the 3rd string 7th fret up a whole step and then come back down. And let that ring. So the first note, I let it ring. That's an A note. That goes really good with the A chord, right? Obviously, A is in the A chord. Next note, I bend the 7 up and let it down and ring for a little bit on the 7th fret 3rd string. That note is D. That matches the D chord. And then at the end of the D chord, I play this like. Okay, that licks one of the oblique bends, okay? The one we just did was a full bend release. Okay, now I'm going to do an oblique bend where I bend the 2nd string 10th fret with my 3rd finger. Add the pinky on the 1st string. Then pick the 10, let it down. And then when I come back down, that note I come back down to is A. That just happens to fall right when the band's back on the A chord. And at the end of letting that one ring for a few beats, I'm going to jump back and bend the 7 on the 2nd string, a half step. 7 on the 1st. This is another oblique bend with a half step. Then pick the 7 that's bent, let it down, and let that ring. Okay, that's under, that fits the D. That 7 on the 2nd string is your F sharp note. Okay, chord tones, folks. If you like David Gilmour, you gotta try to find those chord tones. Like Comfortably Numb solo, the first one, it's very melodic. He's following the chord changes that the band's playing very well. Another great solo off the wall from Pink Floyd, the song Mother. If you listen to the solo David plays, same thing. He follows the chord change. Exactly. All right, cool, Simon. Yep. Haha, very funny. Alonzo saying, I can't get the link for the sheet music to work. Yeah, Alonzo, I'm sorry. Just YouTube was giving me an issue last week, and we fixed the link issue. But for some reason, the curriculum part messed up. I'm sorry I can't get you the link for that. If you look back, Alonzo, in Guitar Tricks YouTube channel, look for week 1 of 3 for string bending and vibrato, and that class should have a link that you can print it out. And I'm using actually the same curriculum for all 3 weeks. So if you don't have it today, Alonzo, if you go, just maybe while you're on here, maybe open up another window and go to Guitar Tricks YouTube channel on YouTube and search for week 1 of 3, and you should have that. Yep. Another thing, Alonzo, it might work is if the link's not working, just try to highlight it, like drag your mouse or your cursor across it and copy it, the link, and put that in a separate browser on your computer and see if that opens up the curriculum. That would be another option. Okay. But because the link is not working today, I'm trying to be a little more detailed about telling everyone what finger and what's fret and what string. Normally, I'd just move a little quicker and don't describe it too much. But it's all about following the chords. Okay, folks? So we got the first part. You hear, there's your A. You hear the D, and then back to A, that, and then half step bend with the oblique, so I'm holding it up. I'm sorry. Okay, and vibrato the last note, this is your F sharp. See how beautiful that sounds with the D chord? Okay, and then the next couple bars, we're gonna follow the chords with the unison bends. Okay, I hold the 5 on the second string. That's an E note. That's one of the notes in the A minor chord. Okay, I mentioned earlier. We're bending the 3rd string 7th fret up to the E. Hold that, and then I jump quickly to the 8th fret, and then back to the 7th fret. Right when I hit the 7th fret, that's when the D chord comes in. That 7th fret is the F sharp note again. You can hear how nice that fits the chord. Then the band's back to A minor. Okay, then we're going to bend the first, or hold the 1st string 5th fret, bend the 2nd string 8th fret for unison bends on the top 2 strings. That's A note is obviously in the A chord, and then I go quickly up to the 8th fret, and then up to the 10th fret that matches the D. The 10th fret on the 1st string is your D note. Obviously, D is in D. So if you hear these chords, and then the unison bends. And then again for the A, D. I'm sorry, I played that wrong, folks. One more time. Here we go. A, D, A minor again, D. And then the last chord to resolve it is the 1st chord again. So we want to, there's no D note in the A chord, so we don't want to end there. You can either come down and play the 10 on the 2nd string, or you might even want to go. Pick the note that's bent, let it down, and then come back to the 10 on the 2nd. That's your A note. Okay? Let me go ahead and lay this down over that backing track again. So this is what that whole example 10 sounds like. And just listen how it fits the chords. We don't have to play incredibly fast, folks. It's not about shredding. It's about trying to find the good notes. Because I hear this a lot, too, with a lot of great players we see on YouTube. A lot of great players. But there's also a lot of not great players. And I see some of them that have super chops, but they're not following the chord changes. It sounds like they're just trying to show off how fast they can play, but it doesn't sound, to my ear, it doesn't sound as musical. Trust me, folks, if you follow the chords with good notes from the scale, and even more specifically from the chords, people are going to like that. More so than being impressed with how fast you can play. If you can't resolve and make your solo sound melodic, it's not too musical. Most people would not really be entertained by that. So try to build up your chops on sometimes the simpler stuff is what people really want to hear. Okay. So follow the chords. Don't worry about the shred stuff and try to make it sound good. So here we go. Here's the backing track, and I'll play the last example 10 over it for everybody.
1, 2,
3, here we go.
4.
Okay, kind of munch the last note. Okay, you get the idea. See how that sounded? To me, that sounds pretty melodic. All right. Now, once you get some ideas like that established, we can build upon that. Like if you were going to play an extended solo, it might be a good idea to think about how to build and construct a solo that kind of takes the listener on a journey, tells a story. Usually you don't want to start out playing everything you know off the top. You want to build the solo so you have somewhere to go. When think about the Stairway to Heaven solo, for instance, all right? Jimmy Page starts out low. See what's happening? He's slowly building the solo, climbing the fretboard. And what does he do? He ends the solo with the highest and fastest notes. He saves the fastest lick and the highest notes for the very end of the solo. That Jimmy Page is a wizard when it comes to writing classic tunes, coming up with riffs, and just getting a great tone too. We can learn from that, folks. So try to think about if you're writing a solo and playing, build it. Maybe start with what I just played you over that backing track as your first part. And then once that comes past, and that was 8 bars long, so perhaps you have 16 bars to solo over. What you can do is just come up with something melodic over the track that might be a little more flashy. So you kind of build up. Same chords. Okay, that is a little solo I composed that follows that exact same chord progression. See, let me lay that on you right here. In fact, let me do one thing for a sec. See if I can get this to fit. Boom. There we go. Just trying to juggle a few things on my desktop, folks. Give me a sec here. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so I'm going to play what I just played you over that A minor D backing track. So check this out.
1, 2, 3,
4. So I kind of work that through. The first lick, the first chord is A minor. I play a little A minor arpeggio with some sweep picking. Then the string bend. Then those little notes when you add a note higher on the same string you bend. And then that's over the D chord. Now that A note fits the D, the A note is in the D chord. Okay. Then we're back to A minor again. And then this little advanced theory here, folks, but if you extend the A minor chord to A minor 7, the 7th note is a G. So what I'm going to do here is play notes of A minor, but add the G. There's the G. I start on a G. Then I bend the F sharp up to the G, and when I bend up a half step to the G, add my pinky to the 16th fret while it's bent, that makes that note an A note. And this is over the A minor chord, right? Okay, and then the D chord. I let the G down, and then it's F sharp. That's in the D chord. Hear that? And I just play a little, looks like a little D major triad up there. I let it hang on the F sharp, and with my pinky I played a couple other notes in the D chord. See how that works? And then the next lick is we're over A minor. I'm just going to play a lick that's in A minor pentatonic, a little sequence. Okay, it's like a little kind of a shreddy lick. It's legato where I'm doing. And I just do that lick on strings 4 and 5, 3 and 4, and then 2 and 7. 2 and 3. I'm making it fit the. Hey, there's Maverick. You got 2 tennis balls, don't you? I got to finish the class, Maverick. Okay. Wow, I lost my thought. All right. Yeah, back to this shreddy lick. Okay, I'm just making the note, the lick fit the pentatonic scale. Okay, and this isn't in the curriculum, but it's just extra stuff. I want to show you if you expand upon, start putting to use what you're learning, you can come up with some cool stuff. And if you take lessons with me, folks, I can show you all this stuff. I got tabs for all that I'm playing here. But you got to book a lesson with me, and then we can talk about it. All right, so what I'm doing. Okay, and then at that point, it's done with the A, and it goes to the D. And I just slide up using intervals of sixths, like we talked about many lessons back. Okay, sounds kind of country bluesy. And then end on 2 notes. I start on 2 notes in the D chord, a D and an F sharp right there. These are passing notes. They're not in the chord, but they're in the scale. And then I end on these 2 notes, which are in the chord, the F sharp and the A. Okay, that's it. And then back to the A minor. I'm going to just play an A minor pentatonic lick up here. Okay, some bends there. Full bend. Let it down. Bend release. Oblique bend, where I bend the 20 on the second. And then at the end, I just, like David Gilmour does in Comfortably Numb, he follows the chords with these little arpeggio shapes. This is over the D. Listen how good this sounds over the D. And it's back to A. That's when I slide up to the A. Okay, one last time I'll play it, and then we'll wrap up, folks. So this is just what you can do with this when you do some practicing. Oopsie, hang on, losing it. Boom. Oh no. You know what? I accidentally just deleted it. Let me see if I can back out of that. Yeah. I like that you can recover things you deleted. So good. All right, so let's go back in that. There we are. All right, one last time, folks, and then we're done. Here we go. So this is the other solo. 3, 4. So some really good ideas here. Hopefully I've inspired everybody in some big way, little way. All right. Yep. Cool. Simon, you got some practice to do after this lesson. Awesome. Well, reach out to me if you have any questions, Simon. If you're a Guitar Tricks member, you can hit me up in the forum. You can email me through that, contact me there. Yeah. And next week, folks, got something really cool. We're going to start week 1 of 4 weeks. We're going to do 4 weeks on this Spanish guitar style. I'm going to have my nice nylon string Cordoba guitar, and I'll be doing some stuff. Even if you're not a Spanish guitar player, you're going to like, I'm going to show some rhythms, very common rhythms to do. We're going to do everything with a pick, not finger style. And we're also going to get into what scales to have that sound. A lot of the stuff I'm going to show you here, you can use in other styles of music too. And that's kind of what's neat, is you got a lot of crossover material that is there. So, and next week, I'm going to bring in a very special guest, a good friend of mine, a great Spanish guitar player. And I'm going to kind of pick his brain about what inspires him to play and how long he's been playing, where he studied. And we're going to play together for a little bit right here. I'm going to set up another chair. You're going to see me and him here. We're going to make it fit so you can see us. And then we're just going to jam for you. He'll give you a few tips. I'm going to give you tips. And I've got curriculum, of course, that we'll be working next week for everybody. So good work. Join us next week for that. And then let me just catch up on the comments here, and then we'll wrap up. Cool. Wow. All right. All right. Cool. Cool. I'm just reading the comments as I'm wrapping up here. No broken strings for Richard. Good. Yeah. November Rain's outro solos. Yep. That's a great, Slash is a great example, Rui. Yep. For writing tasty solos that follow the chords. Like the first 2 solos in Sweet Child of Mine and the first solo in November Rain are very melodic, and they follow the chords. If you pay attention to what the chords are underneath, you'll see that a lot of notes he plays are in each chord as it goes by. And then he obviously can shred too at the end. You want to build it. Thanks, Vinny. Appreciate it. Yep. And then Steve, appreciate it. All right. Russ, we'll see you next week for Spanish guitar style. Laura, all right. Looks like the Google Docs drive is down or something. Other lessons are showing file not found. All right. We'll look into that, Laura. We'll get that, make sure it's fixed for next week, because this is baloney. But YouTube was a little glitch thing going on. So hopefully we'll get it worked out. Simon, yep, you got some practice to do. Peter, you're very welcome, man. Yeah, that's my goal, is to try to show everyone several bending techniques. It's probably not every single bending idea you can do, but it's a lot of them. King 50, cool. Glad you like it. Zane, all right, cool. Yeah, definitely. Check it out a few times, Zane, if you need to. Simon, cool. Yeah, reach out to me. Yes, same day, same time. I do these on Wednesday night, Simon. Every Wednesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific time on the West Coast. So whatever time that translates to you. It's the same time every Wednesday, though. Yes. Vinny's saying, Dave, you're a great teacher, and just about anything rock and roll and on it. Well, Vinny, you are too, man. I've heard you play and I jammed with you at the NAMM show a couple of years ago. That was a blast. Vinny, keep it up, man. Yeah, you're definitely someone to reckon with. Rui Opeth. All right. Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out, Rui. All right. Then JB. All right, cool. Roland, cool. Lonzo, right on. Rui, Laura, yep. Yeah, Laura, yep. I'll see you next Friday for your lesson. Absolutely. And Manho, great. All right, everyone be good. I'm running over. I'll see everyone next Wednesday night. Okay, see ya. Bye.